Good morning and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Curare, your source for the best jobs and online job advice. We're coming to you today with Ian Sons, one of the managers here with Curare Physician Recruiting, and I'm Jerry Ramusak, the CEO. Today we're going to be answering both questions from recruiters that work for us. We have about 30 recruiters that work here at Curare. I think the total number is about 27 right now. Several of them work here at our corporate office in Bloomington, Indiana. And we have several spread throughout the country, as far west as California, as far east as Florida, and as far north as Minnesota. So we've got a pretty good presence throughout the country and expertise in many geographical regions. We'll dive right into the questions. Let's see what comes up here. Should I expect my employer to provide tail coverage if I leave their business? That's a really good question. Ian, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. We get this a lot because tail coverage is always a piece of the puzzle. If you've got a claims-made policy, it's something that can be a concern for you. So long and short of it is no, you should not expect that. I think it's kind of a common misconception that going into an employer that they're going to pay to, in essence, make it easier for you on the back end to leave. It's really something that a future employer will help you with in the form of a signing bonus or some sort of assistance. Sometimes they'll offer to split that with you, knowing that it's an obstacle in securing your services. So don't expect going in that that's going to be paid for, but on the back end, transitioning to a new job should be taken care of.
Have you seen it been paid for employers? I mean, I have.
I have, and it's not that it never happens, certainly not saying that, but I think that shouldn't be your expectation going in. But however, if that's an important piece of the puzzle to you, that's an expectation that you really need to make clear from the get-go.
Right.
Don't waste your own time or an employer's time and wait till the very end of the process to discuss, oh, hey, I actually need help with my $40,000 tail.
And it's something to seriously consider as you're taking on a new opportunity. If you're not a surgeon, if you're not cutting people open, if you're a primary care physician, it's not as big of a concern, the tail coverage. Your policies when you leave are, most of the cases, less than $20,000. But if you're a surgeon or an OBGYN or somebody that's cutting somebody open and taking high-risk procedures, you really have to be concerned about a tail coverage and what's going to happen if in the future you do leave the opportunity that you're in. And that's mainly occurring, a bit, of course, in states that are based on claims-made insurance policies. So if you have occurrence-based, it's not a worry that you need to concern yourself with. But there's a lot of states that are facing some problems with physicians that might want to leave and can't because of those policies that are hanging over their heads.
It's very true. And just quick formula, usually a tail policy is going to be 1.5 times your annual premium. Not always, but that's a rough estimate that you can use.
Thanks. This one's from one of our recruiters. A 2018 candidate called me looking for a job. Is it too early to start their search? I'm going to make this one a quick answer. It's never too early to start your search. I've been really surprised in the last several years in particular how soon some of our clients are engaging with candidates that are a year or 2 years down the road into their graduation. And if you know where you want to go and you're absolutely certain on what you want to do, if you want to move out to Denver, or if you want to move to Indianapolis, or if you want to move to New York City, and that's where you want to be, there's no time like the present to start looking for an opportunity, secure your position, get that weight off your shoulders for your final year of training, and know where you're going to end up, know where you're going to be. Another little perk of that situation is a lot of these places are paying stipends for early decisions. You could end up, I've seen stipends for primary care physicians get up to about $3,000 a month, for some specialties as high as $10,000 a month. So it's a great way to start earning some income now, and tailing back to last week's session, it would be an excellent way to start paying down some of your student loan debt before you even hit your real job earning potential. So I say it's never too early. Start right away, and if you don't find what you're looking for, maybe give it a few weeks, a couple months, and get right back in that same market, because you've got a lot of time between now and 2018 to secure an opportunity. But go ahead and start looking right away. Anything to add?
I would say, just to echo what your sentiment, I think a lot of people are thinking that, well, I don't want to start too early, people aren't going to be interested in me. But the honest answer is that those folks who wait too late, you're picking from what's left over. The sooner you start, the easier you're going to have access to the best opportunities available.
Absolutely. My time is extremely limited. How do I avoid wasting time on my job search?
I'll take that one. This is something that we have to talk with people about a lot, because I think with the amount of resources, the amount of employers out there, it's really easy to get spread very thin as someone who's looking for a job. And I always say, looking for a job can be a full-time job in and of itself. And when you are in residency or you're a practicing physician, you've got work, you've got family commitments, you simply don't have time to put in the effort required to really identify the best jobs. That's where folks like recruiters here at Curare can come in and really provide a valuable service to you. But if I had to simplify it, kind of boil it down to one thing, I would say do not post your CV online. Get in touch with someone like our skilled consultants here at Curare, get a sense of whether or not you feel like they're knowledgeable, can they help you, do they actually have a job that you're interested in, and if that's the case, then release your info. Part of the reason you waste so much time when you do post your CV online is you get calls from people you don't know who they are, you're not interested in the job they're representing, and it just ends up being a big time suck for you. So the best thing you can do is streamline your process, choose to work with a few select people who you really think can provide value for you. That's the best way for you to really be efficient in searching out a new job.
Excellent. Here's another one from a recruiter that we work with. One of my candidates has a couple of DUIs in his recent past. Can I find a job for him? That's a good question, and one that we surprisingly face a lot more than the public probably realizes. Physicians are normal folks just like us, and they face issues, and every once in a while they step aside of the law, or maybe step aside of a malpractice issue, or whatever it might be. They come with some skeletons and or some baggage sometimes. Honestly, I would say maybe 1 in 6, 1 in 7 physicians has some sort of background issue that needs to be discussed prior to an interview, prior to a phone conversation between an employer and a physician. And my short answer is yes, absolutely, that physician can find a job. We've seen it all, and if you have the MD or DO after your last name, there's going to be a place for you to work. We just got to find the employer that wants to work through it. And I think the key is honesty on the front end. As long as you let people know what the situation is up front, you're not trying to hide anything, you're not trying to like sidesweep anything, and you hit it head on right from the beginning. I've seen many mountains get climbed that are actually much more severe than DUIs and still end up with a good opportunity for these physicians. So I'd say in most cases, physicians with DUIs and or other sort of similar baggage, there's lots of opportunities out there for you, but the key is dealing with it up front and hitting it direct down on the front end.
Completely agree. I mean, I think by addressing it right away, is this an obstacle or not? And, quite frankly, when you're looking for a job, one of the main pieces of the puzzle is you want to feel like you're wanted and needed by an employer. And if for any reason, be it, baggage, malpractice issues, personality issues, whatever it might be, if it's just not really a match, it's better to know that now and move on to where you are really wanted and needed.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
Oh, here we go. Technical difficulties.
I'm just starting my job search. What should I look for in an employer? That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure, yeah, I'll take this one. I think that there's a lot of factors that go into identifying the right job. And I think many times you get focused on, what's the salary, what's the long-term earning potential, how can I generate bonus, ancillary revenue, and I'm not saying those things aren't important. They certainly are. But I think sometimes what gets lost in focusing so much on the job is the quality of the employer. So how do you know if this is going to be a good organization to work for? One of the best ways to identify that is the longevity of their current employees. If you go there for an interview, talk with people about how long have you been here? Are you happy? Do you enjoy this? Just like I think really in any industry, if you see the people for an organization are happy, they've been with the company for a long time, that speaks volumes to their ability to retain people, and they must be doing something right. Additionally, I think it's worthwhile to look at kind of the overall business plan for a corporation. It's easy, I think, to get caught up in big dollar amounts and big income guarantees and lose sight of the fact that maybe this organization isn't doing very well. Maybe they're having financial problems. A good indicator of that is what is their overhead running at. On average, practice overhead is probably somewhere between 38 and 42%, but we will see situations where it seems extraordinarily high, 65% of a business's revenue going to overhead. It's not to say that that can't work, but when you see red flags like that, where it seems like they're not able to keep their costs under control, I think you've got to be worried about your long-term potential. But a lot of it also has to do with how you feel. Do they make you, like I was talking about a little bit earlier, do they make you feel like you're a valuable piece of their organization? Do they try and anticipate your needs, make sure you are confident in how their onboarding process goes, their interview process goes? If they can make that personal and they make you feel like you're not just a cog in the machine, I think that's a good employer. So a few different things there.
Yeah, and I'll add one thing. One of my favorite hospitals to work with is here in Indiana, actually, Marion General Hospital. They have a board of directors that's actually physician-dominated, meaning that the majority of the members are physicians. So when they make decisions, it's with their physicians in mind. And that's a really unique situation, and one, even in my experience of almost 20 years recruiting, I don't see that often. And so those are little things that you could look for as you're in your job search to really suss out the best employers and compare them to each other.
Right, I'll add one more thing, just bringing up a specific employer. There is a very large multi-specialty group that we work with frequently down in the southwest coast of Florida. All physician-owned. They've been in business for a little over 50 years, and they make a point of offering ownership in the group to every single physician. They want people there who are going to be vested in the success of the organization, and I think that's part of the reason why they've been able to maintain being independent. They've not been bought up by a hospital or health system, because they invest in their employees, they make sure they're treated well, and they want them to stay.
Last one for this week, and that is, I'm looking for a new opportunity. How long does it take to secure a job? That varies. You know, we always say if something happens within 30 days, it's a slam dunk. And we get these slam dunks in our company of 27 recruiters about maybe 8 to 10 times a year. I'd say on average you're looking at a 60 to 90 day cycle minimal. And to give you an idea of the process, you submit your CV to us, say, in January, and at this point we've probably already talked to you about what you're looking for, what kind of jobs you're seeking, and we submit your CV to the employers that we discuss, and then we get a phone interview going. You being a physician or an advanced practitioner and the person on the other end being an administrator, both of you usually have busy schedules, and sometimes that takes a little while to coordinate. Let's just play liberally and say it's going to take 10 days. 10 days after the send-out, you get a phone interview. The phone interview goes well, and lo and behold, they want you to talk to another physician. Again, busy man, busy woman. They have to get you connected. It might be another week. Now we're a half month into the process. They invite you over to an on-site interview, and you got to give 2 weeks notice for the on-site interview before you could leave your job for a couple of days. And lo and behold, you can't make it out there for another 30 days. Now we're a month and a half into the process. Interview goes great. Everybody likes each other. They send you home with a letter of intent, and you sign the letter of intent. You send the letter of intent back, and in between the time that you interviewed and the time that the letter of intent went out, they actually interviewed another candidate, and they liked that candidate too. So now they're kind of deciding between two candidates, and you're still hot to trot on the job opportunity. You really like what you see, and then the client decides that you are the person they're going with, and they have their lawyers draw up a contract. Again, busy individual, an attorney. That might take anywhere from, let's say, a day for a really quick organization to a month for some of our slower organizations. It's not uncommon these days for a legal department to get a contract offer and have it take 4 to 6 weeks to write up. So I'm losing track of the math now, but already we're about 3 months into the process. And not everyone goes like this, but I'd say this is about average. So you get the contract, and now you're going to want to have it reviewed by your attorney, again, a busy person. And that's going to take at least a week to 10 days. Some negotiations between you and your client, maybe your attorneys get involved, and another week to 10 days. So you're looking at about 4 months on the process that we just discussed right now between CV send out to the client and actually signing of the contract, and then whenever you could begin the job. Usually people will wait for your start date, whenever that might be. Now you could expedite the process in many different ways, and working with a recruiter is one of those ways, because we have the time to call these clients every day and move the processes forward while you're at work and push the right buttons. And another is to just make yourself available. When you're looking for a job, make yourself available to the job search process and commit to getting the job committed to, and you'll move it along quicker. So I'd like to say, on average, you give yourself 6 months to find a job from start to finish. If you really want to take a good look at opportunities. If you're in a hurry, though, you can make it happen in a month, but it is odd.
And I agree with everything that she said, and I think a lot of it does depend on the size of the organization as well. You know, just set your expectations accordingly, as I'm sure you can imagine. If it's a small group, there's a few physicians there, there's only maybe 1 or 2 people that have to sign off on getting you a contract. And, logically that can happen faster. But if it's one of the large health systems that we work with, they have protocols in place where, the minimum length of drafting a contract is probably 30 days. Mm-hmm. And there's no changing that.
Yep.
You can bang your head against the brick wall all you want, but it's not coming any faster because they're drafting hundreds of employment agreements on a regular basis. So that's a situation where you just have to know what to expect. If you're sold on the job, if you're bought into that opportunity, just know that that's not a reflection of their interest in you. It's simply they have so much going on, that's their process. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's going to do it today for Coffee with Curare. Thanks for viewing, and we'll see you next Wednesday.